Hey, Mark Milan here. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Today I want to talk about leading in a new environment. And perhaps you've had to switch departments, or perhaps you've actually had to move from where you were living to another city and take on new responsibilities, a new role. I know that's been happening in my life. So I've jotted down what I believe are 10 things that can help you to lead in a new environment. There's a lot of things to consider when we're going into new environments. There's new relationships to be built. There's vision to learn and understand. There's the language of the culture. And so it does take time, and I want to start by saying give yourself permission to go slow. Don't rush the process. Be an astute learner and observer, because when you're leading in a new environment, it can add a lot of change, and change can trigger a lot of fear and stress in people. So it takes a lot of sensitivity, to use a term used by Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL. The dichotomy of leadership is really, really important. The balance of knowing when to press into something and when to pull back. And so I hope that these can help you if you are going to be leading in a new environment, maybe now or maybe in the future. You're thinking about moving on to something new and different, and I hope that these can help you at that time. I actually want to read a couple of scriptures first. Take a ministry perspective here. Maybe you work at a church, or you use the scriptures as a principle for you in your leadership, as I do as a believer. So I want to read a couple of these because I think they're helpful. Colossians chapter 3 verse 23 says, "Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people." That's always been my perspective, that I work for the Lord. What I do, I want to benefit people and benefit the kingdom and God's purposes, but I work for the Lord, and I always want to keep that at the forefront of everything He calls me to do. Another great passage, this is one of my favorites. This has meant so much to me and my understanding for leadership. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 13 through 15 says, "Each man's work will become evident, for the day will show it, because it is to be revealed with fire. And the fire itself will test the quality of each man's work. If a man's work which he has built on it remains, he will receive a reward. If any man's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved, yet so as through fire." The summary of that passage is that the quality of our work is the most important thing, not the quantity, and that through the testing of the purity of our motive, the testing of the purity of our love in what we do is really what will refine all the work that we've done. So the quality of the work that we've done is measured by the love we put into it. And I think that's a huge thing to remember as well. 3 things that I think will impact your ministry leadership, or your leadership in general, is your ability to have self-awareness, understanding who you are, what your propensities are, meaning what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. So self-awareness is key. Number 2 is personal growth. What are you doing to grow yourself? How are you investing in your thinking? The ways that you are processing patterns that perhaps are bringing success, or maybe aren't bringing success. So personal growth is number 2. And then number 3 is your maturity, your ability to grow past failure, or your ability to handle lots of success. I think those are the 3 factors that will impact your ministry leadership more than anything. All right, let's jump in. We're going to cover some ground here. We got 10 things to help you win in your new role when it comes to leading in a new environment. Number 1, establish connection. Number 1, establish connection. Your connection with the people that you're working with is the most important thing. That is the foundation of influence, is the connection you have with people. So build relational equity by connecting with your team. Get to know your team. Listen and learn, like really listen to what they have to say. Get to know people's stories and perspectives, and be accessible, be genuine, be honest, and allow your heart to be seen and connect to other people's hearts. So establishing connection, foundational to influence. If you're going to have an impact in your new role, establishing connection is the most important one to start with. Number 2, be curious. Ask questions, move beyond former conclusions, and allow for new ones to be made. So come into this mindset of exploration. You're going to explore new things. Anticipate the learning curve. You're going to have to learn a lot. I would say it is very dangerous for you to assume that there's nothing to learn. That would be a huge mistake on your part. So be curious, anticipate a learning curve. I would say pull down idols, and this is not idols of other people. I would say it's idols perhaps that you've had from past success or from past familiarity. As you're coming into a new role, pull those things down, remove them. As I like to say, the best leaders don't have all the answers. They just know how to ask great questions. So be curious is number 2. Number 3, prioritize. Find a way to organize and start to see things as they should unfold. So be sure to manage what is priorities. Create a weekly list for yourself. Start to create a list. I've noticed that some leaders who are highly relational tend to have a lot of wishful thinking. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, let's do that. No, that's awesome. And they don't write anything down, so they completely forget about it. And it just has a negative impact when you're building equity with people. So create a list, make a weekly list for yourself. If possible, try to narrow it down to the top 3 things you need to do for that day, or the top 3 to 5 things you need to do for that week. But prioritizing is really, really important. Learn to set positive boundaries for yourself. Give yourself time. As I said, don't overcommit and under-deliver. You want to over-deliver and under-promise, okay? Because that will affect your credibility as time goes on. Michael Hyatt has a great format that I think is really, really helpful. He calls it the yes, no, yes method, which basically will affirm a request. It looks like this. So, Mark, I want you to do this. Wow, that sounds amazing. Unfortunately, because I have to attend to this, I am unable to meet that request. However, here are some things that I would recommend for you that could help you move forward. So it's a yes, no, yes format. It allows the relational connection to remain there. You're still trying to help the person, but you're not compromising or over committing yourself to things which can lead to negative credibility down the road. So be aware of that. Okay, number 4, be trustworthy. To be trustworthy is very simple. Is to be worthy of someone's trust. If someone gives you their trust, be reliable, be dependable, take extreme ownership of what's been given to you. Say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. And if you cannot complete with what you promised to do, you've got to own that. And you've got to say, hey, I am sorry. I miscalculated how much time it's going to take to complete this. Can I move the deadline back? Or would you be okay if I did something like this? You just need to be really, really trustworthy. When someone chooses to give you trust, it is an act of courage on their part. So you want to reward them by being reliable and dependable. Respond to emails in a timely manner. Text messages, these are huge. And always be honest with where you are with stuff. So if you're struggling with something, you got to be honest with it. If you're falling behind, like I said, you want to be trustworthy. Number 5, choose to believe the best. Choose to believe the best about someone. So beware of creating narratives in your mind with people's behavior. People do things for a lot of strange reasons. There's a lot of thoughts or triggers or sometimes patterns that people are unaware of. And when we don't have all the facts, what we tend to do is we tend to create a narrative and a story. We try to explain what happened in our own minds without having all of the evidence or the facts to support it. So beware of creating a narrative in your head and choose to be positive and believe the best about someone until you can learn more about it. So when issues arise, make sure you have a relationship established and you can ask questions. Hey, when you did this the other day, I don't know what you meant by that, but here's how it impacted me. And then you allow them to, oh, you know what, I was occupied, or you know what, I totally forgot. This way you're not trying to create a story that impacts your relationship, but you're seeing it as an event and you're not creating a story about the event or creating thoughts about the event. Let the event be the event, and then if you can, Try to gain perspective and seek understanding from the other person. Ask clarifying questions. What led you to do that? I'm not sure why you did that, but that's what I would say helps when you're choosing to believe the best. Number 6, be a critical thinker. Now, this is a fine line, but number 6 is really important. Be a critical thinker. Critical thinking is when we become a challenger of the situation or the idea instead of the judge. Now, this is an area I struggle a lot with, where giving my opinion about something can seem factual. An opinion is not fact, it's more of a feeling, right? An opinion is based on my perspective or past experiences, but it doesn't necessarily equate to having the facts of it. So critical thinking is when we just challenge the situation or to challenge where we are in the process to continue searching for something deeper or greater. Help find ways in which things can improve. Beware of negative tones when you share your perspective. Being critical is simply being negative without a solution. So being critical is, criticizing something and being negative. Critical thinking, however, is trying to search for greater solutions if they are at all possible to find. Number 7, ministry is not your identity. Now, if you're not in ministry, maybe this one doesn't apply for you, but it did for me. Make sure that your role in ministry is not where you find your worth and your value. Ministry is not your identity. Jesus is. I just got to throw that in there. My worth and my identity is the love that God has for me in Christ Jesus, not what I do. So keep your hands open. Beware of making ministry your area of identity and worth. Ministry is not meant to save you. It's not meant to give you strength. It's something that we are assigned to do as part of being in the kingdom. Ministry was given to us to do things, but it was never given to us to give us rest or to give us a sense of belonging. Jesus was given for these things, and that's important to remember. So ministry is a very dangerous place to seek identity, and sometimes it's good to kind of pull yourself out of what you're doing to remember who you really are. So, AKA stay in love with Jesus, is my final thought on number 7. Number 8, put in the work. You got to go into it knowing that ministry takes work, quality over quantity. There's a story of an architect named Kota in a book that I read some time ago, and he was a house designer, and he built these magnificent houses all the time. And then at the end of his career, he wanted to retire, and the city he was building all these houses for asked him for one more house, and he really didn't want to do it. And so he got passive aggressive with the situation, and they begged him, and he said, fine, I'll do it. And what happened was he built this house, but his heart wasn't in it. He didn't put the work into it. He was kind of lazy about it. And what the city did was they said, we wanted to bless you at this final house that you built for us was your house. And so, of course, when he realized that that was the case, he eventually built a house that he really didn't put the work into it, and he had to live in it. So the moral of the story is put in the work every time. When you're going to engage, make sure you engage completely. Ministry takes real work. God won't do it for you. T.D. Jakes once said that God doesn't make furniture, he makes trees. So he provides the resources, but we got to get out there and chop the tree down. We got to carve the thing. We got to sand it. We got to drill holes in it, and we got to hammer stuff. So God provides the resources, but we got to put in the work to put the pieces together. And that's always helped me a lot. The quality of your work is a reflection of your heart. Of course, I go back to that passage we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 13. Number 9, be a contributor. Serve first. Aim to be a contributor, to make things great, to see others win. If you can find the humility to help others win, your influence will increase and you will be able to impact where you're at. But be a contributor is a huge one. Beware of fear and control and trying to control people and situations. Have ownership of yourself and have self-control. Tony Adams tweeted this one time, play for the game on the front of your jersey and they will remember the name on the back. I love that. play for the name in the front of the jersey, and they will remember the name on the back. So be a contributor, help the team win, have a servant leadership attitude. God promotes humility. And then number 10, clean out yesterday's ashes. Now, this is a reference to Old Testament priests. The priests in the Old Testament would have to offer sacrifices continuously, and the next day they would clean out the ashes from the burning sacrifices. And there was a lot of reasons for this. One of them was because the ashes would drown out the fire and the oxygen needed for today's sacrifices. So they always had to clean out yesterday's ashes. So remember to bring your best offering today, to work hard today, to be excellent today, to be engaged today. Don't carry over yesterday's sacrifices into today. Just start fresh today and give it your best today. Couple of suggestions for books. If you're looking to grow a little bit more on this, I would suggest Boundaries for Leaders by Henry Cloud, one of my favorites. How to Lead When You're Not in Charge, Clay Scroggins, great book. And a great ministry book that's blessed me for years is a book called Tale of Three Kings by Gene Edwards. And I'll give you two more bonus books. A book called Credibility by Barry Posner. It's a great read. And then one of my favorites that I've read is a book called Multipliers by Liz Wiseman. There you go. Lots of content, 10 things to help you lead in a new environment and win wherever God's taking you. That's all I have for you today. Until next time, from my heart to yours.